Yep, go ahead and get it started.
You're good?
All right, good to see everyone here tonight. Appreciate you being here. We'll call the meeting to order. First thing we do is pledge allegiance to our flag.
Except it's here now. I moved it.
I got work back.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going to change things up a little bit. Elizabeth's schedule got a little bit hectic. And anyway, she may or may not have to leave just a little early. So anyway, we're going to take care, if everyone's okay with that in the council, we're going to take care of the ordinances and resolutions first, if that's all right. Anyone have a problem with that? Okay. Elizabeth, we'll turn it over to you.
I appreciate you all accommodating me. We'll go over ordinance 2504 first. This is the second reading. An ordinance relating to street legal special purpose vehicles. Whereas 2025 Kentucky Acts Chapter 89 allows for the operation of street legal special purpose vehicles on certain highways within the Commonwealth of Kentucky, if allowed by ordinance of a local government within whose jurisdictional boundaries the highway is located. Whereas the act was passed on March 26, 2025, became effective Friday, June 27, 2025. Whereas the Auburn City Council has determined that it is appropriate to allow the operation of street legal special purpose vehicles on specified streets and highways within the jurisdictional boundaries of the city of Auburn in accordance with the act and this ordinance. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of Auburn, Kentucky as follows. Definitions set forth in section 1 of the 2025 Kentucky Acts Chapter 89 and as may be amended in the future by the Kentucky General Assembly, are adopted and incorporated by reference as if set forth fully herein. Street legal special purpose vehicles shall be allowed to the extent permitted by the Act on the streets or highways or portions thereof that are located within the jurisdictional limits of the City of Auburn, where the speed limit is 55 miles per hour or less. Exception: street legal special purpose vehicles shall not be allowed to operate on any street or highway or portion thereof located within the jurisdictional limits of the City of Auburn unless allowed by this ordinance, on any street or highway or portion thereof that is a controlled access system, including but not limited to an interstate or parkway, on any street or highway or portion thereof where the United States Department of Agriculture prohibits special purpose vehicles. Street legal special purpose vehicles are prohibited from traveling a distance greater than 20 miles on a street or highway displaying centerline pavement markings. Many trucks shall not be operated as street legal special purpose vehicles on a street or highway that has been constructed pursuant to a federal highway program. Provisions of this ordinance are severable if any sentence, clause, or part or application thereof is for any reason unconstitutional, illegal, or invalid. Such unconstitutionality, illegality, or invalidity shall not affect or repeal the remaining provisions, sentences, clauses, or sections or parts of this ordinance, being the legislative intent of this body to ordain and enact each other. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith now in effect to the extent of said conflict are repealed, and the ordinance shall become effective upon passage and publication as required by law.
All right. As Elizabeth said, council have any questions for Elizabeth on the ordinance? Like it follows the statute, the statute pretty closely, is that correct?
It does, basically incorporates the statute or the state law on that. It also essentially mirrors what the county has passed already and has allowed within the county. But to my knowledge, no cities have passed this. Russellville has had a first reading, but it hasn't passed yet.
Make the motion to accept pass the ordinance. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion with the council, within the council? All right, that being said, roll call, please.
Fontaine?
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Thomas?
Yes.
Rick Simmons?
Yes.
Travis Fuller?
Yes.
Jeff Gregory?
Yes.
Rhonda Sullivan?
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous. Elizabeth?
All right, so before I go actually read ordinance 2025-05 as a first reading, just to give the council members some background. Some of you are likely, or probably all of you are aware that the city is responsible for maintaining its city limit boundaries, and that is tracked by the Kentucky Secretary of State. We have been working on a project, actually, I think predates me as city attorney, so it's been several years. And just some history, in 1992, there was an ordinance passed that annexed property into the city. Obviously, survey techniques have changed since in the last 30 plus years. In 2008, the city had a new survey done to try to satisfy the Kentucky Secretary of State's office with the city boundaries, because they map every meet and bound that's in those legal descriptions, and I think they wanted an updated description. So 2008, there was a new survey done. There was a resolution that was passed that didn't change anything about the annexation, but just said, here is a new description of it. And the council passed that, and then after that, it was sent to the state for the mapping process that's required now. And when that mapping process was complete, because of an issue with that description, there was an area that was not included in the city limit boundaries, and according to the Kentucky Secretary of State's mapping system. That was obviously seen as an error because there was no change. We kind of called it a mystery triangle because it basically left out a small section that on the new description that had already been part of the city limits. So it's been a long process to try to get to the point of having the correct survey work done in order to fix that. Mayor and I have met several times with Austin Clark, who's a very good surveyor with McGee Engineering, and he's worked hard and we have now, as a joint effort, gotten to the point of he's done a new survey that we think will fix that description from 2008 that we can provide to the state, and once they accept it, then they will then confirm what happened in 1992. So it's a little confusing, and we had actually communicated with the state on the front end to try to get guidance, so that just because of how that process goes, trying to make sure we did everything correctly before we set it up, and then have to do things multiple times, trying to prevent that from happening. So where we are today is that we have the survey work complete, and we feel like it's going to be accepted by the state. But what we have to do is repeal the 2008 ordinance that had the wrong information in it. And then, which that was done by ordinance, so I prepared an ordinance that we'll have to have a first and then a second reading of that repeals that 2008 ordinance. And then when we have the second reading and you all vote on that, that's under resolutions 2025-05. At the same time, in the same meeting, I would propose that you all consider for passing a resolution to accept the new description. So we have that resolution on the agenda. However, I would intend that we don't vote on that until we have the second reading, so that it all happens simultaneously, if that makes sense. And then once we've repealed 2008 and passed the new description, we'll send that to the state, and hopefully they fix the map, and it's all good from there. The Secretary of State's site, you can go on there and look at the mapping of any city, and they basically put in there whatever the cities provide. And so I think throughout probably the early 2000s up till now, it's kind of been a thing with cities trying to update those descriptions to make sure they're correct. So I say all that, and then I will read this ordinance, and then I'm happy to try to answer questions. The mayor obviously has been involved in this for a long period of time as well, so hopefully we can address any questions or concerns you have. So this is the first reading of ordinance 2025-05, an ordinance repealing ordinance 2008-06, an ordinance adopting a modern and accurate legal description of territory previously annexed in ordinance 92-8, dated January 8, 1993. Whereas the City Council of Auburn previously passed ordinance 2008-06, titled an ordinance adopting a modern and accurate legal description of territory previously annexed in ordinance 92-8, dated January 8, 1993. Whereas, after passage of ordinance 2008-06, issues arose regarding the city limit boundaries of the City of Auburn, specifically issues with the legal description contained in ordinance 2008-06. Whereafter, after the passage of ordinance 2008-06, the Kentucky Secretary of State's office mapped the city limit boundaries based on the description contained in 2008-06, revealing an error in the ordinance 2008-06 legal description. Whereas, in order to resolve these issues and to confirm and correct the city limit boundaries, it is necessary to repeal ordinance 2008-06. Now therefore be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Auburn, Kentucky as follows. Ordinance 2008-06 enacted on September 8, 2008 and effective October 13, 2008, adopting a modern and accurate legal description of territory previously annexed in Ordinance 92-8 dated January 8, 1993, is hereby repealed in its entirety and shall no longer have any effect upon the city limit boundaries of the City of Auburn, Kentucky. The provisions of this ordinance are severable. If any sentence, clause, or part of this ordinance or application thereof to any particular state or cases for any reason found to be unconstitutional, illegal, or invalid, such unconstitutionality, illegality, or invalidity shall not affect or repeal the remaining provisions, sentences, clauses, sections, or parts of this ordinance, being the legislative intent of this body to ordain and enact each other. All ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith now in effect to the extent of said conflict are hereby repealed, and the ordinance shall become effective upon passage and publication as required by law. And then, obviously, if you flip over, I think there's a resolution between, you can see that resolution. I'll just wait and read it next time, but it basically, and what it says is that, kind of mirrors the one we did in 2008, but says, uses the new description that we think now is accurate, and that is attached and is several pages long. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to.
This would go into annexing land, basically.
Well, it already got annexed. It was annexed in 1992. But in 2008, they tried to provide an updated description of what already got annexed in 92. So it doesn't change what the boundaries are. It just fixes the legal descriptions so that the Secretary of State's map will accurately reflect what we did in 1992. Does that make sense?
Yes.
It doesn't add or take away from what we currently already have.
Got the map put on my phone so they can see if they want to see it.
It's that property across, like the cemetery road area, across the TA.
That property is pretty well intact, but it is a part of that ordinance, so it has to be included, right? But the property that didn't map correctly is up off of Redwood.
Yes.
Yeah, that little gray triangle there, basically.
Basically, this triangle was included in 1992, but in 2008, when they put the description in, it wasn't included because that description was wrong. So it should be blue, and it's not.
It has been annexed, but their map just doesn't reflect it, basically.
Looking at something, I don't know if that's,
What are you talking about? Are you talking about from Facebook?
no, the picture, like, for the public to show down.
Well, anybody can go on Kentucky Secretary of State's website.
Do it right
We
now.
should have yes, we should
Yeah.
definitely, if we can't, we have to show that, I think, I know, to show the public what we're talking about, to keep them up to speed with everything.
Well, we're not annexing any new property. This is just fixing the map. That's all this is, basically.
It was, that section was annexed in 92.
I'd just like to show,
Yeah.
watching what we're actually talking about. I don't want anybody to be in the dark while we're talking about something
And this is the official state website. You can go on there, you can type in any city, and it will show you how they have mapped it, and the mapping has an error that we're trying to fix.
Right there.
See that little triangle?
This triangle here, this triangle right here,
Yeah.
That's
that's
it.
what we're talking about,
Yeah.
for anybody that's listening.
It's been a part of the city since 1992.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Yes, it's something, like to know, somebody that's watching, saying what we're trying to convey.
It's been a part of the city since 1992. However, the mapping just never matched up.
Yeah.
I've heard about that, the surveyors say that some people's houses, their property is actually over here, and it's
Yeah. It just didn't
straightened
match
out.
up.
It's-
Yeah, I think obviously in 2008, there was just an issue with that description when it got to Secretary of State's office. That's the result, and that wasn't the correct, that wasn't what was supposed to it was supposed to be. So, hopefully it will be fixed. Anybody got any other questions? Anybody else?
Clear, thank you.
Got any more questions from the council on that one? There's no need to respond tonight, we're gonna have a second reading.
Yeah, I think next time we'll have a second reading vote, and then we'll have the resolution and vote.
I'll make sure to get that resolution back to the next meeting.
Yes, please.
And then we do have another resolution.
Yes, resolution 2005-04, a resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property of the city of Auburn. Whereas on August 11th, 2025, the city of Auburn, Kentucky, at a regular meeting voted in favor of designating certain personal property owned by the city as surplus property. Whereas the city of Auburn, Kentucky owns the following items of personal property: blue LS tractor, office desks, filing cabinets, bookshelves, display case, side table, lobby chairs. Whereas pursuant to KRS 82083, the city intends to sell said property. Whereas such property was originally acquired to be utilized for administrative purposes by employees and or citizens of the city of Auburn. Whereas the city believes there is no future public purpose or use for the property because the equipment no longer serves the needs of the city of Auburn due to deterioration or replacement of above listed equipment. Whereas the majority members of the Auburn City Council have found that this sale of said property is in the best interest of the city, promoting the economic interest of the city to liquidate said property as it serves no other useful purpose. Now therefore be it resolved and ordained by the city of Auburn that the above described personal property is declared by the city to be surplus property, that said property is hereby approved to be posted online at www.govdeals.net for an online auction pursuant to KRS 82083 4D.
Is there any questions from the council on that resolution? If not, I'll entertain a motion that
I'll motion it.
we move forward.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that? Roll call, please.
Paul Tizo,
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Thomas,
Yes.
Greg Simmons,
Yes.
Travis Fuller,
Yes.
Jeff Gregory,
Yes.
Robert Sullivan.
Yes.
All right. Motion passes, and I think that's all of our resolutions and ordinances tonight. And we have no municipal orders.
The circus will exit the meeting.
It was good.
I appreciate you all accommodating us.
My Jack.
It was good.
No.
All right. That's time for the department reports. Council's got those reports in your packet, I think. Police department report. They're in training this week in Richmond. They're in service training. They have to do 40 hours a year, and they're in service training this week in Richmond. So, do you have any questions on what's in the packet? I'll try to answer them, or answer one or the other. All right, if there's not any questions, we'll move on to code enforcement. I think there's a copy in there for that. We're working on a couple that, we're trying to move forward on a couple we've been working on for quite some time. So, we're ready to clean up the, Maple Street property. They burned down most of it anyway, but clean up the rest, get that out of there. Does anyone have any questions on that? On his report? All right, that brings us to the fire department. I think they've had a little bit of activity at the fire department, getting a few things lined up, but I hadn't heard of any issues, major issues there, as far as equipment or anything else that pertains to us as budgetary or anything like that. I think things are flowing pretty good that way. So, does the council have any questions on the fire department? Water and sewer, the new, replacement line at the intersection down there is in place and all done. And, the thing's been kind of a bear, as everybody knows, but, we made it through that, and, but it was, kind of a perfect storm. And we still don't know one variable that, we don't know where that variable is. There's a line backfeeding over there we're really not aware of, and neither is something, because our previous, Steve Middleton, we got him involved because of his knowledge for 40-something years, you know, of the system. He didn't know what it was either, so. We still got that one thing to find that was a problem. Not sure exactly where it is. I've got a couple of suspects. Steve told me about one suspect he had. And then, I had Chris Wilcott, our engineer, look at it. He's come up with another possible area where it might be. So we're looking at that, as that was the culprit. Unfortunately, we were already committed, when we found out we couldn't, our 91-year-old infrastructure wasn't cooperating with us. So we were already committed and had to go through with it. But, so I apologize to everyone out there for the inconvenience. I don't think there was any major tragedies over it or anyone get hurt over it or anything like that. So, but it was an inconvenience, and we've apologized, and I apologize again for it. But for the things we could do different, we learned from it. One is we're doing a project to find out exactly where our isolation valves are, which ones work, and then Chris Wilcott is going to, over the next few months, devise a plan where we can perhaps add some isolation valves in some areas that might help us as we replace our infrastructure. And then we're trying to get that done before we actually start the water line project that's gonna happen next year on Main Street and North and South Lincoln Street. So we're trying to get that, maybe get a little bit more ability to isolate at least those areas, so it'll be more convenient for everyone.
I've had a lot of Alton residents asking about the door tags that said, there'll be some kind of reparation for the loss of water.
Restoration.
Or like, it said something on a door tag, the door tag about, you know.
I don't remember any of that, but
I thought, if I'm not mistaken,
well, they didn't lose any water. I mean, they were never charged for any additional water. I mean, it didn't go through their meter, you see what I'm saying? So they didn't get charged for any additional water.
do you have a copy of one of those door tags? I'm not mistaken. I don't want
Let me see if I can find one.
to, I should have brought mine. I'm pretty sure it wasn't quite that word, but it was, so.
This notice is to let you know that your water will be cut off for repairs intermittently throughout the day beginning at 8 a.m. Thursday, 7/31/2025. Once water is restored, bring water to a rolling boil for at least 3 minutes before consuming. This boil advisory only affects businesses and residences that have received a door tag, which was all of them. You will be notified when boiling is no longer necessary. That's what the door tag said.
Really wasn't an contamination,
Some people I know were blaming Scotty's. It wasn't Scotty's. They didn't cut a line.
I stand corrected. I stand corrected.
Oh, that's fine.
I kind of.
There's it wasn't them. I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and get them off the hook right now publicly. It wasn't them. It was a perfect storm of several different things. But, they're not responsible for our 91-year-old infrastructure. And we had committed to that cut, you know, so we had to follow through with it. But it was not a pleasant experience for anyone, just to be honest with you. But I think the responsibility rests on me. We should maybe have done a few things differently. We tested 2 weeks prior to this, but we didn't expect that one valve to fail. Didn't fail the test, but anyway, we had some other issues too. So we could have done things maybe a little differently, I'm not sure, but the line that's still feeding through, I don't know what we've done about that. So unfortunately, until you go back about 20 years, we have good mapping for what we've done in the last 20 years. We have excellent mapping. But prior to that, it was not, you know, and so some of this infrastructure's been put in over the last 91 years, so.
There ain't no way we could kind of make the next month a little easier on them for some people was out of water for like 18 hours, you know, and.
I don't know of anyone that was out for 18 hours. I think around 11, some of the outlying areas.
Well, it kind of like trickled down like that, and then it went to Russellville, and now people in Russellville, like, the water, they're getting it. It was a widespread event somehow.
No, we don't serve anything outside
No,
of
I'm
our city.
not talking about Russellville, I'm just saying, it was a pretty big deal, and it, I don't know.
I-
It was just like the,
Well, they really weren't charged for any water they didn't use, you know what I'm saying?
just, I feel like we put the people of Auburn in a, not intentionally, but they were in a spot, and I feel like that, we need to recognize that, and, try to make it right with them, because, you know, they keep us going, and,
There's well, I mean, there's been major outages all around us for the last 4 weeks, you know what I'm saying? Almost all of these loads have been cut off 2 times in the last 3 weeks, 3 full days. And Franklin had an issue where 2/3 of their city, around 6,000 customers were cut off for about 14 hours. I mean, it happens, that's all in the last month.
The first day of school, Logan County didn't have it at the very beginning, we got cut back on pretty quick, but.
There's just, I mean, those issues are gonna happen. Unfortunately, it happened to us this time. I think, I look back in all my notes, and I've been involved in the city for 18 years on the council as mayor. And we never had this major, of a water outage in 18 years. So we got a pretty good record.
Right.
But 3.5 years ago, we had a boil water advisory for 2 streets. And that's the most recent one, so, and that was because of the line break. So we've got a pretty good record, I think.
well, what I'm saying is, if there's any way we can give any back to the people for their time, if they didn't have water, it's not the users that was the issue, to me, it was people coming home from work in the summer, all sweaty, and I know it wasn't our fault, but we gotta show somebody, I feel like that we care about our town, and, I'm surprised there's a mob out here, I was expecting the whole town to be here, but,
Well, I think, like I said, I mean, I apologize for any inconvenience. All right, anybody else got anything on water or sewer? Any motions to be made? All right, we'll go to streets and sidewalks. We've been paving some at the park areas. They've been pretty busy with that. It's come out pretty good. The one street over on a portion, the upper portion of Bel Air, the upper portion from Rogers Drive up where that ends. So that street, I look back, hadn't been done and hadn't been resurfaced in 37 years, I think it was. It doesn't seem possible that it was built in 1974. I remember I was bush hogging it. With that, my dad built that street, and I was bush hogging a little bit. But anyway, doesn't seem possible that it's been that long. But that street really never has, it doesn't need as much traffic, you know, up there. So it didn't need resurfacing as often as the other street did, so. But we had it on schedule for that. That portion got it, and then, got the park. We had some areas, the dog park area, and then that parking area up next to the little pavilion we put in. So we have more parking there up against the sidewalk for the disc golf and all that. All those areas got done.
Right at the end of Hill Street, I mentioned it last meeting, well, it's a highway kind of broken.
Now, where's,
At the end of Hill Street meeting, people,
where it goes into the school street there in North College Street?
not much goes into Hill Street coming up, and then going down.
Down to Peters.
Yeah, down in the.
Okay, Peters.
Kind of rough in that area.
Well, that, and we talked about additionally getting that foliage out of there so you can see better. I briefly mentioned it to Aaron, and he didn't say no, so that means he's probably okay with it. We'll work a deal with Aaron to try and straighten that fence out a little bit and move it over at an angle or something where we can keep it mowed, weeded out there a little better. And we'll work a deal out with him. he was very receptive to it, so. When we put that fence in, you know, he was very receptive to it, so. And then the street, I see what you're saying,
I think it
it's
floods.
more off where it goes to the
I
side.
think it floods on both sides, causing it to maybe crack, I don't know, soften up or something.
Well, let me.
It may need a little maintenance in there. It, what is it, 60 feet, maybe 100 feet, and a little strip,
That little low strip through
a
there.
little low place.
Yeah, I got something to say about the trees and, streets and sidewalks, there's places where you gotta like duck down to get down the sidewalk. I mentioned that before, I don't know if it's just taking some time to get done, if that's us or.
Most times the homeowners will try and take care of it, but a lot of times they don't. And then that's the ones we try to get, you know. If the homeowners are managing it, which I would rather do, because then I don't do something that they don't like, right, you know. But it's just a lot easier for us, but there's some that maybe not capable of doing that, you know, they don't have the ability to trim them back.
One of the main ones, like going to school, I walk my kids back and forth to school every day, and there's one on Main Street right there, it's just,
They're from the church,
yeah, it's hanging pretty
on the
low.
Main Street side or the College Street
It's
side.
outside right there, going down Main Street,
Okay.
right there before you take that corner, it's, if you're riding a bicycle and you don't duck, you're gonna do a backflip, you know what I'm saying?
We've got several more, you know, to do besides that one, but I'm gonna put that one on there now. We've got several more.
Streets.
The fall, we usually try to get it, so there's not even any leaves to deal with, no brush. But it may not be able to wait that long if it's that bad.
I mean, it's some low hanging fruit right there.
Does anybody else have anything on the streets, y'all got anything? There's, we bought a new product to patch holes with, not potholes, but cuts. And it seems to be working exceptionally well. It's seems to be a superior product. We just got it and just did 3 down here on Caldwell, see how it's gonna hold up. Did 3 holes that are not very easy ones to do, not very, they're right in the middle of the driving lane, you know what I mean? So we'll see how that holds up. It's gonna get hit every time somebody drives down through there, so we'll see how they hold up. But I'm real impressed with the product so far, and James is too. He's real impressed with it.
Did you ever make contact with that lady on North Perkins with
I did.
that house, the new house they built?
And she said she wanted to talk to, I did talk to the lady, not the man that was there. And she said she wanted to talk to him, and I haven't gotten back with her exactly that, but I will. Yes, and I told her what we wanted. I told her that we would do it, you know, but I wanted to know, I think our right of way goes to the top of that riprap on that bank, to the top of that bank. But I just wanted to know if she would allow us just to cut all of it off. That way they keep the bank sprayed.
Got it cleaned off, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years ago, something like that, somebody come in, I don't know who it was, they came and cleaned that whole bank down Perkins. And then down, Mr. Kinsley had that.
Glenn had it done, he had somebody come in.
That's all I'm through with that.
Yeah, that's been a while, now, it's going back.
Yeah.
But I'll try and get back by there and see what that answer was.
The blacktop looks good at the park.
Hmm.
The blacktop looks good at the park.
It does, it turned out nice. I think they missed a spot over there, kind of by the Coach Pittsfield, where the Hoganville side is there. There was supposed to be another little strip there that got done and didn't get done, I think. But I gotta look at my map, and make sure what the quote says, but I think we missed a little spot there. Anyway, we'll get it done. They'll be back up here asphalt, putting asphalt down here eventually, next few weeks.
Monica, I don't know if anybody else noticed it or not, but there's been, quite a few signs of where the Amish have been in town.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there for a while, the streets stayed clean,
Yeah,
but now
it's everywhere.
kind of getting back to that. Are they not using the bags?
Oh, no, I never did.
Yeah.
Never did.
That's That's something we beat to death here a few years back,
Yeah.
and then turned right around and got it all pulled right back out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I went to court 17 times over that. We won 17 times. Yeah, after that.
I know a lot, I don't know if I can talk to them and tell them they don't mind getting out of the shovel and taking it up. I can see if I can get them to, clean, if the horse manure is an issue, I can tell them, you know, hey, just get it out the road for people.
That would be welcome if you do that.
I can send word and see if it doesn't.
Thanks.
That.
I appreciate
But I
that.
have noticed it too.
I appreciate it, thank you.
That was brought up a few years back, and one of the issues with, there's a lot of women and kids that are in the buggies. We felt it would be a safety issue with, the kids and the women getting out trying to do that. So we kind of let that part of it slide. And they made the commitment that they would do that, but they never followed, I ain't gonna say they never followed through with it. Most of them didn't follow through with it. A lot of them didn't follow through. And then the same one that was in here voicing their opinion about that issue at one time, at the beginning of all of it, they were the same ones that were back in here a year or so later, going the other way with it. So,
Maybe on the side streets, they could at least, you know, where it's safe to get out. On the,
You can ask them. I'd appreciate it.
I can send word and see. I wouldn't see them doing it 60 or 80, but, you know,
I appreciate it.
I'll make note of that.
Anybody else got anything on streets and sidewalks? All good? All right. Park, the fall ball started. They didn't know if they were gonna do that or not, but they did. They immediately, like in a week's time, had 200 plus children sign up for fall ball. So they got a big league this fall. They had almost 300 in the spring, so they got 200 again this fall ball. So it's come around pretty significant. And the soccer league's gonna do some more this fall as well. So Sky Soccer gonna do a little more. I'm not sure exactly what they're gonna do, but they're gonna do maybe some weekend activities or something. So all that's going on, and then the park's getting heavy utilization. And like Rhonda brought up, we put some paving down there, trying to get the worst spots, around through there. We had done some 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when a truck came through there, and we charged his insurance to fix those spots. But so we fixed the spots that they didn't fix. But anyway, he got lost really bad. He was following his GPS and it took him around that road, around the park. There was snow about that deep. He was all over the place, out in the ditches. It was bad. But anyway, we got him out of there. Anyone else have anything on the park? Things are going pretty good down there. We've got a little bit more grade work to do. We'll put those water lines in. Where that's settled, we've got more grade work to do there. And Kevin has finished the changing the pavilion over to the new electrical service. And we've got that in pretty good shape. That side of the park over there is on a new electrical service. So it doesn't help us with the one that's controlling the ball fields, concession stand, which is the one that is preventing us and making us change all of that at one time, even the ball field lights. So we're talking about a very expensive proposition. That's why we're waiting to see what kind of grant or that type of thing we can get to do a much larger project and change those lighting and all that at the same time we do the electrical service. Because the inspectors won't let us do it one piece at a time. They're gonna make us do it all. It's so far out of code. Some of us put in the 60s, don't even allow that very cable, aluminum cable anymore. There's things that just won't pass. So, and rightfully so, those poles in the 60s, they're not in the best shape either. So it all does need to be replaced in some way. But hopefully have more room on the other side, maybe we can shift some of that stuff around, you know, we talked about that in the budget workshop. And then have this side apart from other activities, and then shift them all over somewhere. We'll see how that pans out.
I mean, what if we just gonna run so much at a time, you know?
Well,
It's
let's
gotta be
do it.
all done at once.
All at one time. I mean, we'll have to shut it all off at one time, that whole service. Not letting us do it. The inspectors just not letting us do it. We've had them over a couple of times. But it says it's too many code, too many new code violations. He said it's the old code fine, you know, but it's just not any of them gonna pass really. I guess once they turn the service off, then everything has to come back up to code to bring it back up. You can't do that, so. We offered to do that, just put a new service in, tie all the existing stuff into it. But that wouldn't pass either, so. He wouldn't do that either, so. We've gotta keep working our way through it, and I'll keep y'all apprised when I find that information, but that's where we're at now, and looking for money as well, so. We'll get there, I think, but I don't know when. But as it is, we've taken some load off of that old service by putting the new service on the other side of the park. So we've taken some load off there, so that's helped. Anything else on the park? All right, tourism. We'll get Rhonda to give us an update on the event that happened this last weekend, I guess, the most current one.
Yeah, dog days went really well. We had cornhole and the 5K Friday night, and we had a pretty good crowd, more than I expected. And Saturday was a good day. It was a hot day, but everybody seemed to have a good time and have fun, and the music was good. So it turned out really good. And then our next event is September 13th, Party on the Square. And it's disorderly conduct that's sponsored by Lewisburg Bank. I do believe that James and them decided to cancel the Bluegrass Festival. So I'll be updating the page with that. And we'll just be having one concert for September. But that's all I know.
All right, thank you for that update. Any questions from the council on what's going on there?
And Miss Peggy, thank you for providing the trophies and all the goodie bags. Kids love them. And we get out every one of them.
And they were really cute when you brought them in, I kind of looked for little juice box,
Y'all didn't get
snack
one?
pack.
No, we didn't get one.
I did.
That's what you're called.
Was there another one?
There was a couple that we kind of stood back and didn't come get it. And I told them that I had more snacks and everybody was coming in and like, I don't want that.
Did they eat the ice cream sandwich?
Oh, yeah, they gobbled them up.
It
It
was
was
good.
like 100 degrees, they were rolling
Yeah.
it all around.
Well, thank everyone that volunteered and helped. I think it was a great event. It turned out nice. Pretty good crowd. So I want to thank you and thank Rhonda for heading that up. Peggy and others that volunteered their time, and energy, and finances to make it happen. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we had a good response. We had a very good response from the silent auction. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that donated. You know, again, I can't stress it enough. We can't do any of that without the businesses and the people donating and everything. And that's a big part of how we provide all the free activities throughout the year. So I thank y'all for supporting us and all the donations and coming back and being part of the whole festival and buying stuff from us that y'all actually put in there and, you know, just supporting us the way we do.
It's the, last time we talked about the old water plant, maybe, tourism. You know, revamp, been in it,
I have, but I don't know if this is enough. And the more I think about it, we could maybe use it for some storage, but for her to have a place, or for place that's exposed, where it gets exposure to the public, I'm not sure that would solve that need, Of course, I'm open for
If
suggestions.
we're gonna put money in a different buildings out there, just put money in something that we already own,
Right.
and, I mean, it could be nice. But, or it could be used for storage, because storage doesn't, you got a lot of stuff that you,
A lot of stuff.
that's what I'm saying, so any kind of storage would be beneficial as long as it stays dry and.
This is, the issue down there, because I know you haven't seen inside that building. All of the water equipment, including the tanks and everything else, is still in that building. And these are big steel tanks, 10 feet tall, the whole length of that building. And all the pump stands are still in there and all of that stuff. Now, we have some few things stored in there, not much, because there's not a lot of room. But then you take all that, out of the center of the room. But, and I know you haven't seen that, you didn't know that. But
Actually, I've been there before, it's been years ago, but there's a lot in there, I don't understand.
now all that, before it would be useful storage for somebody else like Rhonda or like tourism, I think we probably have to take a lot of that out. I'm not sure exactly how to do that.
Probably take a wall out. You'd probably have to take a wall out, because they might have built around it, I don't know.
But probably,
Take more than the budget that we have.
yeah, we'd have to take a torch to everything. And we thought about that. We still have an elevated slab, but we thought about it would be a lot better storage if we could do that and get it out of there. But I'm not sure what that would cost either.
Would it be more feasible to buy a overhaul building or a structure like that we could set somewhere?
We talked about building like you're talking about, just building a metal building, with pole barn basically, down at the park somewhere, maybe next to the tractor building, of decent size, I don't know, 30 by 40, just pick a number, right, but, and have one big door, a walk-in door, a couple of windows, be lights and plugs, and use that for storage, but that's gonna be a little cost, so I think we'd have to think about that a little bit. And I don't know, tourism could afford to chip in a little bit all the time. But I think that's something for the council to think about.
I just know she was looking for an office, and, I was trying to figure out what we can do about that.
If we ever,
I'm just throwing stuff out there, and if it sticks.
and I think the building, Ron and I talked about that, actually, down next to the tractor building, there's a pretty good spot there for something like that. Between it and this golf course. There's a pretty good spot right there that we wouldn't use for anything else anyway. It's not a spot that would be utilized for anything else. And I could get some information on that and bring it back to the council, if that's something y'all want to do.
Yeah, we're like flooding and everything.
Well, that building never does flood. It's high. It's a higher elevation there than where all the other stuff. So that area right there never gets water over it. Now on the round by the little pavilion and all that, it'll get water up there sometimes. 3 or 4 inches deep.
Just want to throw it back out there, because we talked about it last time,
Yes.
on the table.
I'll get some information for the council. Look at it. If that's something you want me to do, y'all can look at it anyway, right?
Yeah.
See what you think.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on tourism? Economic development. We got an architect working on just a simple site plan for y'all to look at. And hopefully we'll get some, for our new property up here, the 16 and a half or 17 acres we talked about. Maybe some development. So I got to look at the site plan for you guys to evaluate and look at. And kind of get some numbers associated with it. But I'll whenever I get that, all together, I'll let everybody know, we may wanna have a special meeting just dedicated to that, you know. We'll see. I don't know of anything else on economic development, anybody else got anything you wanna bring up on that? All right, the senior center, I noticed, in a talk with Sarah, Gerald Printing is in the process of making us a sign similar to the one for the roadside market sign, very similar to it, same size, pretty much. And then, of course, we put that in, James did, and we would do the same over at the entrance of Amanda Gordon off of Main Street, just up from that other side. And have it where it shows the park and the senior center. And I think there's gonna be room on there to list the dog park, so we can list it as well. Auburn Park, the majority of the sign, and then down at the bottom, we would have, Auburn Senior Center a little bit smaller than that part. And then have an arrow, going that way, and then the dog park as well underneath that. That way we wouldn't have to have those small signs everywhere anymore. Get rid of those. Sarah's been asking for it for a while. Sarah Collins, Senior Center Administrator. We'll try to accommodate her. Is anything else on Senior Center? Y'all seen her report, I guess? All good?
I was a little sad that Paige won't be able to come by anymore, BK eliminated her job. She did the, food stuff, right?
Right.
What is that?
Nutrition program.
Nutrition. She did the nutrition program, so
Yeah.
that'll be something that we'll miss
I
out on.
don't know what she's gonna do for UK.
It says she'll be teaching school.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, she did a good job. She was real nice too. Anything else on the senior center? I think things are going well down there. Sarah is bringing back good reports. I think things go pretty well. She's always trying to be innovative and think of new things, She's always trying to do that. And try to think out of the box a little bit, she's good at it. So she really fits in well there.
Teen Center picks back up in 1 week, right?
All right, let's move on to the cemetery then. I drove out there this afternoon, and Aaron's got it looking pretty good mowing-wise. Hopefully this fall we can do some landscaping around our pavilion, out there a little bit anyway, and then at the same time do a little landscaping around the pavilion down here. Let it cool off a little bit. I don't think the plants will live anywhere right now.
We need some rain back.
Yeah, we do it in the fall. But everything's looking pretty good, and you see the report in there. Is there any questions or statements from the council on the cemetery? All right, that brings us to the minutes of the July 14th, 2025 regular meeting. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes into the record.
Motion. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the minutes, July 14th, 2025 regular meeting? If not, roll call, please.
Claude Joseph,
Yes, ma'am.
Peggy Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Evans,
Yes.
Travis Fuller,
Yes.
Jeff Gregory,
Yes.
Ronald Solo.
Yes.
That brings us to the August 1st, 2025 special call meeting we had. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes on it? And if so, entertain a motion to accept those minutes into the record.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion from the council? All right, hearing none, roll call, please.
Claude Joseph,
Yes.
Peggy Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Evans,
Yes.
Travis Fuller,
Yes.
Jeff Gregory,
Yes.
Ronald Solo.
Yes.
That brings us to the financial report.
So in your packets, you do have a monthly bank report. This is mine that I made in Excel. Right now, unfortunately, due to some issues with our accounting system, our numbers are not, they're not accurate, they're not ready for me to run the financials that you guys are used to having, the expense report, revenue report, trial balance, all that good stuff. So I did manually, actually Heather did manually input these numbers into the spreadsheet so you guys can see the cash balances. So for the city accounts, at the end of the month in July, we had $1,891,918.58. Water and sewer, $1,411,581.81 for a grand total of $3,303,500.39. And then you guys still do have a bills payable report of all of the payments that Heather wrote, but unfortunately right now our software is not giving me accurate numbers. Again.
All right. Ms. Hines reported with having some glitches. And on top of that, we have our internal auditors this week. So it ought to be a fun week for us, especially for Maggie and Heather. So y'all might want to keep them in your prayers a little bit.
Now, this is our new software that we just purchased.
3 years old.
This is the software that we converted to in November of 22. We've been having ongoing issues with it. Our auditors do not like it. The software people are unhelpful.
This went all the way through COVID.
Yeah.
And this started right at the beginning of COVID, and they put us off about transferring, even though we paid some down for development, you know. But it just went on and on and on, just to make a long story short. So really, we've been in this conversion since probably early 20. So we've been in this conversion for almost 5 or 6 years, and they still won't fix what they said they would.
Are they not under some kind of contract?
The contract is that they're gonna develop and provide us with X amount of things. But then when they converted, none of those things really ever worked as they should. Now, if you look at their contract, yes, it says that they were gonna provide these X amount of things, they did. But they don't work with our system like they said they were going to. And that's where you're at the mercy of software providers. And the person we made the deal with, or really Becca made the deal with on this software was a local guy that'd been doing it for like 25 years here. He sold his business 2 months after we made our transaction. So we were stuck with a company away from here. And to be quite honest, they're just not gonna do what they said they'll do. Now, after we get through our audit, get through some more questions for them, I think probably once we have some more final information, I think it'll be time for the council to have maybe a special call meeting just to talk about that and work our way through that, what we're gonna do.
That's something like you're saying, when they don't do what they're supposed to do, hands-on, they're supposed to.
They're supposed to, and they charge us for it.
Right.
Which we wouldn't mind paying if they do the job. But they're saying they're not gonna, they just keep sending Maggie fixes, workarounds,
Yeah.
instead of fixing the problem. And it's because they have no staff. They can't provide the staff, can approve that, no, but that's the fact, that's what it is. They don't have an IT staff big enough to do what the workload they have. And to be honest with you, it's about that time is when KLC, or a little after that, during COVID, KLC started developing a relationship with one of their cornerstone partners, which is a municipal software company. And that company's had an excellent track record for the last 4 years, working with municipalities here in this state. So that's something we might want to look into. So you never know. But I just think once we get through all this and I think maybe it might warrant, once we have some information from other providers, I think it might warrant a meeting just to itself, a special meeting for the council to discuss the software issues. And, but we don't have enough information to do that right now. So we're in the process of gathering. This is third year in a row.
Just know that we try everything we can to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
And I've sat on meetings with these folks too, and then they'll tell you, oh yeah, I think we can fix that. Then they send her another workaround.
They'll leave me hanging until, it's a month later and I'm trying to reconcile the bank statements and I run into it again and it reminds me. And I'm like, hey, just checking in on this. Did you guys ever come up with a solution for this? I'm like, oh yeah, so we went in and we created a new, whatever for you to use for this, to transfer this, so that it doesn't affect your budget numbers, blah, blah, blah. So they're just creating workarounds for me.
And the workarounds don't really work, because there's other software items feeding into that category, right, behind the scenes. And we can't see behind the scenes, we don't know what that's doing. You see,
Not
it's
so much
just a craziness,
yeah, and we're trying to.
perpetual craziness here, it just keeps going. But, anyway, we're checking into some things that are going to be very, very helpful. And hopefully we'll get that worked out. Our auditors have been very kind and very understanding. They check our paper, they check everything to make sure everything's added up. And, but it's a shame we can't verify that with our software. You know what I mean? They have to go, and then Maggie and Heather have to fish through all these hard copies of stuff to make sure everything's documented, make sure everything's there.
2
It's
summers in a
crazy.
row, they've complimented how organized our hard copies of our accounts payable files and our tax files and all that, how organized and on point they are, and then it's just absolutely not reflected that way in our software, and it's really frustrating.
a lot of times what they give us creates an even bigger mess. The software.
Yeah.
It's kind of like y'all acting out as doing manifest when you got computers.
Right, a lot of stuff we end up having to do manually, yeah.
That's just,
And we are not accountants.
Well,
We are not accountants.
writing up a manifest.
We do our
and
best.
computers to get the world.
You shouldn't have to be, they should be able to enter their data
Yeah.
from a bookkeeper standpoint, enter their data, and that software function as it should.
Oh, no, I think we could pass now. I think we could pass an accounting test. We're getting decent at it.
Okay.
A little bit.
Anything else on the financial report? That brings us to bills payable. Y'all have had a chance to look at it. Entertain a motion to accept the bills payable.
I make a motion to accept.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion or questions about that? Fortunately, our software didn't affect this one.
The bills payable report comes straight from the entries that Heather makes from the invoices that she receives. And there's some other things too, but that's just about the most simple part of our software. So if nothing else is working, generally that part's broken.
Yeah. Software on a day-to-day is pretty easy to get stuff put into. It's just the behind the scenes where it all goes together that it doesn't go standard right. Quite right.
Whenever you guys are comfortable, we entertain a motion to accept it. Or did you get it?
That makes sense.
Did you get a motion?
I've got Claude making the motion and Peggy seconding.
All right, so is there any more discussion? All right, roll call please.
Claude Tisdale,
Yes,
Peggy Thomas,
Yes.
Rex Evans,
Yes.
Travis Fuller,
Yes.
Jeff Gregory,
Yes.
Rhonda Sutton.
Yes.
All right, we've already gone over the ordinances, but Elizabeth did. And we've gone over the resolution, just to inform you guys what was coming up next month and why. So, and we did the resolution to get rid of some surplus property. So that brings us to municipal orders, and there are none. And so that brings us to new business. If the council has any new business that they like to bring forward at this time?
There's a stop sign that's gone from Lakeview and Walnut.
I didn't get that on this list, but I got it in there, maybe it's you told me that. No, what is Randy Russ told me. But yeah, I got it on my list today from Randy, but it was just knocked down, is it gone completely now?
It's just a pole there, and it's leaning, so I don't know if somebody's got it or.
Somebody made it, I guess. Anyway, I'll put it on this list too. All right, is there any other new business from the council? I've noticed some of our stop signs faded and stuff too around town. It's been about 2 years since we made a big order and replaced some of them. We need to get on that again. I've noticed 2 or 3 when I was riding different places. One of them, I think's on South Lake, but it's faded pretty bad. It's still there, but
South Lake is a busy street right now.
yes, it is.
And it is, having to not go down Wilson.
It's wrong, Wilson, I'm enjoying
Is there any more new business from the council?
it. You're enjoying yourself?
Y'all good? All right, that brings us to public comments. Do we have any from the audience tonight?
I'm Paul Siggins, I live on Railroad Drive. I spoke with Mike about the little flooding now that's going on from the property because of the way the sidewalk and easement were, for the better, for the lack thereof, wasn't well thought out. Because before those easement and sidewalks were put in, there were culverts to draw the water away from the property. Well, when they put the easement and the driveways in, or the easements and the sidewalks in, easements are supposed to slope up to keep the water from coming down into the driveways. Well, the ones, they slope down. So when it rains, and the water runoff comes down Rainwood Drive, it hits those easements. It's just like a spillway in the dam. It comes down on the sidewalks, goes down the driveways, down the sidewalks, and on my property now. My front yard looks like an overview of a swamp. And the runoff goes straight down our driveways and joins up with the Rainwood River in the back. So I was wondering, like you said, you were going to talk with your engineer. Has he?
He's back this week. I told you he's gone there the week I talked to you, which was the last of the week before. And he's back this week. Hopefully we can get together and get up there and get a look at it.
Yeah, because like I said, you don't need to have an engineering degree to look at it and go,
Yeah.
there's a problem. And it's not just with the driveways of our property, but the ones prior, the ones further down. Because I watched the way the water flow goes, and it just, every driveway just shoots in. And what I'm worried about is on water coming up, getting the foundation, getting under the foundation, and start having foundation issues with the house. And I'm trying, hopefully that can get averted, because the way it rains here, it's gonna keep going until those easements are corrected. And I know it's not gonna be cheap, and like I said,
Like I told you, I'm gonna get up with them.
yeah, because if I would have looked at it, I would have said, you guys are gonna build easements like this, you need to go back and rethink. Because it looks like there was no true thought.
Like I said, we'll get a look at it and I'll get him involved and we'll get a look at it.
All right,
Thank you. All right, is anyone else have anything they'd like to bring up tonight? All good? Well, the next thing on the list is for a motion to adjourn, if the council has no further business. All good? All right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got a motion and a second, all in favor? Opposed, like sign. believe we're good.